Welding Level 3, NCCR, Module 2, MIG Pipe. Objectives. Upon completion of this module, you should be able to prepare MIG equipment for open root V-groove pipe welds. Number 2, identify and explain open root V-groove pipe weld techniques with MIG equipment. And number 3, perform welds in the 1, 2, 5, and 6G positions. Performance tasks. Number 1, set up your MIG equipment for pipe welds. 2, 3, and 4, and 5, you want to be able to make welds in the 1, 2, 5, and 6G positions. All right, so not much has changed from my MIG plate to MIG pipe, but maybe you're coming in on MIG pipe as your first lesson, so let's talk a little bit. To ensure proper penetration for MIG welds, you should keep the wire at the leading edge of the weld puddle. So we've got this weld pool here, all right, and if we're breaking that down into thirds, we've got a front third, a middle third, and a rear third. NCCR has recommended that you point toward the leading edge of that puddle, especially on pipe. Now on plate, they were giving you a drag angle, all right, and talking about a 25-degree drag angle giving you maximum penetration. On pipe, they're going to want this push angle, this leading edge, focusing towards that puddle to get us that proper penetration that we're looking for. Must have a fire extinguisher readily accessible when preparing a weld area. All right, so this is kind of off the cuff here, more towards Core 1 welding safety. But this is actually how the OSHA rule reads, readily accessible. It doesn't really give you a distance. I think most of your hot work permits are going to require it's within 35 feet. MIG is continuous, which reduces restarts and discontinuities. All right, so you don't have to stop and load another electrode, chip some 6010 slag, put another 14-inch rod in and take off. With MIG, you can just keep on keeping on. You get 35 pounds of 035 at your disposal, so you can run it as long as she'll take you. Constant voltage is the preferred power for MIG, and with CV, the electrode feed speed controls the amperage. All right, so you're dialing in voltage on your power source. Your wire feeder is giving you electrode feed speed, which also controls your amperage. Now, both flux and MIG like constant voltage. TIG and arc like constant current. Bevel on pipe. They're going to give you a variance here. I'll go ahead and tell you at KWI it's going to be all 37.5 on pipe. 30 to 37.5 for the assessment you've got coming up. Just remember that. But we will have all our pipe bevelers set on 37.5. What kind of root openings do you want on carbon steel pipe? 0 to 8, and that's how much gap you have between these two, right? So you can slam it shut for a 0, or stick you a piece of 1/8-inch filler metal in there to gap that thing at a true 1/8-inch. Feather tack to help fuse the root pass in the tack weld. So you got to put these tacks in, and look what they did. They grind it real shiny. You could even go a little more if you wanted to and blue those out. But I would leave some meat in the middle maybe, and I would feather them off really good on the start and the stop there. So as I come up off my 6 and tie into this 3 o'clock tack here, or 9 o'clock, depending on if I'm left or right-handed at this point, I'm going to fuse in and melt into that, causing a good penetration for that root weld. 2G root pass should have a drag angle of 10 to 15 degrees. Depending on the transfer mode, MIG extension for micro wire varies between 1/4 and 1 inch, and that's a rehash. We have seen this on when we talked this in plate. All right, so our extension for both MIG and, if you remember, flux core gas shielded was 1/4 to 1, and on our flux core self shielded it was 3/4 to 1. All right. So what is that? If you're fresh on this, what is extension? Well, this is the extension right here. The electrode extension is the point at which our electrode, our consumable electrode, the 035, comes out of our contact tip, and the point at which the arc starts, or it turns from solid to liquid. That is our electrode extension. Again, 1/4 to 1 on MIG. Then you have standoff, how far off the base metal your nozzle is. And you have stick out, how far the electrode hangs out of the nozzle. Then you have contact tip setback, so it's how far your tip is sucked back into your nozzle to protect it from the spatter that goes on. All right, your pipe weld positions. The 1G is rotated. The pipe stays in the flat, or you're on top in the flat. Your work angle is nothing. You're pointing at the center of the pipe, so you're 90 degrees, and then it rotates as you go. The 2G, you're going to go around it. So you're welding the horizontal all the way around. The 5G, or bell hole, you're starting a little bit overhead. You hit some vertical, and you end on the flat. And then the 6G, the coveted 6G. Everybody wants to be a 6G welder here. Start at the 6, and not only are you going, from overhead to vertical to flat, but you also have to traverse, diagonally as you go up. You're also coming back or diagonally as you progress up. So the MIG weld coupons should be cut from carbon steel pipe that has a diameter of 4 to 12 inches. 4 to 12 inches is the recommendation from NCCR for practicing on your coupons. In the 2, 5, 6G position, the 12 o'clock position is at the top of the coupon. All right, so it's that simple. And we talk this clock a lot. I think you've heard me say, your tacks at 12 and 6 and 3 and 9. We're always talking about a clock face. A clock face. These pictures are showing you maybe where we pull specimens from. Depending on the size of the pipe, the diameter, and of course the schedule will determine how we pull those. So for a smaller diameter pipe and smaller schedule, we're going to go ahead and just quarter it out and bend the whole dang pipe. All right, so we'll cut on these pizza marks here, and we'll bend this quarter, this 3 o'clock quarter, this 6 o'clock quarter, and the 9 o'clock quarter. On your monster coupons, they're a little bigger for our bender, so we'll go ahead and pull these blue straps about where they've got them. And they'll be 3/8 wide because you're 5/8 thick, and we'll bend those as side bends. 1G rotated position requires the gun work angle at 0. All right, and I called that 90 earlier, but nonetheless, it's pointing straight up and down, and your pipe is rotating. When welding on rotating coupons, attach the ground to keep the coupon current from passing through the bearing. So what they're saying is, there's electricity passing through this. I don't want to take that ground clamp and clamp it down here on these caster wheels, because it's going to run that current through those bearings and through a lot of different stuff. First of all, it probably won't even get a good ground for me. So I want that ground as close to me as possible for the best arc that I can get. For filler and cap passes on the MIG, 6G gun should be at a drag or push angle of 10 to 15 degrees. And they're showing you here. Typically speaking, you're not going to do a downhill, I don't think. So we'll be running this uphill version of this, and we are pushing that as we go. So a 10 to 15 degree push angle on the uphill motion. Critical piping, and yes, these guys are MIGging on some what looks to be like some big pipe here, maybe what you expect to be downhill pipeline type stuff. These processes are called STT with Lincoln or RMD with Miller, and yes, it is a MIG pipeline process. It's the benefits of TIG welding, really, or the ease of MIG. Doesn't require as much skill, I guess, as some of the other processes. The machines are outrageously expensive. They start in the $10,000 to $12,000 range, but the pay is good if you're certified as an STT or RMD welder. You also have an extra button. You control voltage, you control wire feed speed, and you control amperage separate from the wire feed speed. So I say all that sidebar so that what we should be focused on is the critical piping. Is a piping system that contains materials that could be damaging to personnel or the environment around us. So a lot of things we do will be considered critical piping. That's it. MIG on pipe, module 2, very quick and easy.